stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hi, thanks everyone for coming out tonight. Make sure all your mics are turned on so that people can hear you. Our roll call tonight, we have one person missing, TJ McLaughlin is not here. So we have a quorum, and we go down to approval of the agenda. Any additions or subtractions on the agenda? I think everything is okay to go, so we'll go down to public comment. Before we go to public comment, just like to add a couple of things about our Flag Day on Saturday. Hopefully most of you got to attend that. It's a great activity. I know probably for 15 years, I know, we've contributed to it, but I've never been here at 8 o'clock when the volunteers and all the many people are here setting up for this event. And what's amazing is to watch our town with people who are willing to give and volunteer their time for so many years. I thought one guy was saying like 15 years he's been doing it. But I just want to thank, I don't know how many people here tonight are volunteers. I think probably a lot of you in here right now that were here. And it's just, I don't know what your feeling is about that day, but to me, it's just a special day. You walk around, I know I got here a little bit before the fireworks, and walking around and you watch these families that are gathering here around the township. People are cooking out, people are on hay rides coming to the fireworks. It's just a great event. It's something that our town, no matter what our views are, we can come together on a day like that and have a great time. But I would just like to thank all those of you that put so much time and effort into it. One guy told me this was his last year, so I don't want to mention him. He's here tonight, so maybe we can make sure he continues on. Okay, now it's time for public comment. Hi, Doreen.
Hi, I'm Doreen Hannon. I'm the director at Salem South Lyon District Library, and this is just an update about summer happenings. First of all, we have kind of like a pre-kickoff of our summer reading program this Saturday. It's our second annual Bicycle Dream Cruise, and basically we invite all people to come and bike from Volunteer Park up the pathway all the way to the library, and then we have activities in the parking lot for families. They can decorate their bikes. We have a bicycle rodeo. We have sidewalk art and a newspaper throw. And our Friends Club is going to be there with snacks and drinks. And the Friends Club are like our little junior friends of the library. So that's the pre-kickoff for summer reading. And then summer reading actually kicks off this coming Monday, June 17th. And as always, we have activities for all ages, from infants to adults. And we like to keep people reading during the summer. Adults can model that for their children, so we encourage adults to participate right along with their children. We have lots of fun programs going on, so it's fun activities that connect with the reading. Another thing we have this summer are passes to Michigan State Parks, and you can come in and check out a pass to any of the Michigan State Parks, and you can get in free. So you can come check that out. And then the other thing we have that's new, our Friends of the Library purchased the subscription to Zinio magazines, and you can download over 100 magazines to your e-readers. And the unique thing about Zinio is you do not have to return the magazines. You download them, they're yours to keep. They don't expire, you don't have to return them. And there's a lot of really neat magazines. So if you like to keep magazines and refer back to them or whatever. So that was a great service that was provided by our Friends of the Library. So that's just my update, and everything that I talked about is on the back table. So if anyone wants to pick up any flyers tonight to put on the refrigerator, and remember to keep reading over the summer. Thank you.
All right. And I heard the race and everything that you had was successful, and that's a good thing.
Do you have a list of the magazines do you have a list of magazines back there?
Yes, there's a flyer back there. It's called Zinio
Okay.
magazines. And it gives you some examples, not all 100 are listed on there, but if you go to the website, you can see all the types. Yeah.
Okay, Tom?
Thank you, Gary. I just have a question for all of you, perhaps more specifically Mr. Wensley. At the last meeting, you agreed to accept the petition for the referendum on the recent rezoning issue. When is that going to be? Isn't there's no election for quite some time. I'm just wondering how you plan to handle that.
The board as a group has not actually addressed that issue. We've been told by our township attorney that it's the next regular election. And that is not until 2014. This, I think it's August of 2014. So we're just kind of putting it on hold until that time. Until it gets closer, I would say probably in the winter coming up 2013, 14, and we'll be looking at that more specifically. But it's kind of on hold till the next regular election.
Great, thank you. I'm glad to hear we're not having a special election just for that.
Yes, that's right.
Okay. Question?
Good evening, board members. When I received your check in the mail, I was unsure of what to do. I was unable to obtain a legal opinion like you received, so I therefore assume that the attorney's indication or opinion indicates that there is no need for me to reimburse the township for the FICA payments that were made on my behalf. I will say that I personally cannot agree with your decision. In my opinion, returning Salem's residents to me with this check means I profited by being paid twice by the township. The township paid both my Social Security tax obligation and a contribution to the 457 plan. So I didn't know what to do, but I have decided to accept your decision. Rather than treat this as an unfair and a personal gain, I want you to know that I intend to donate this money to organizations or their nonprofits that will help Salem residents. I'm using this as an opportunity for me to donate more and volunteer more in 2013. Thank you. Have a copy for each board member, and also if one to be put into the record, I'd appreciate it.
Okay, anyone else? Oh. Okay. Mr. Wensley.
All right, we will go to the consent agenda. Item 5, I move that Salem Township approve the following consent agenda items. A, minutes of the May 14th regular meeting of the Board of Trustees, as shown in the packet. Minutes of the closed session, May 14th of the regular meeting. The disbursements for May 2013, which are described in the packet here. The general fund, the May check roster, $142,979.11. These are checks 23,949 through 24,036. Also, we have disbursements for the escrow fund of one check for $1,300, check number 1521. We had total payroll for the month of May of $49,688.80. We had Paycor's electronic funds transfer of $173.50. And we had the sewer fund of $13,331.37. These were checks 1892 through 1896. And for invoices for June of 2013, which we'll be approving today, these are coming out of the general fund of $87,151.87. And all the detail is in your packet here. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Dale Converse seconds it. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion, the consent agenda is passed. Okay, down to the business items, or administrative. Our road projects, we had some discussions on this last month. I think we received some more good news here just yesterday on the further projects that a lot of residents have been writing the township, emailing the township, phone calls, and also through the county road commission. Just to kind of recap for those of you that were not here last month, as far as the one section of road that the board voted on is from Pontiac Trail heading, North Territorial at Pontiac Trail heading east towards a tower, just past tower, about 800 feet. The cost of that would be $343,000, the township's part. And the county had said that they would have installments for us to pay spread it over a 3-year period. So as a board, we voted to have that project, which would be started this summer. And then at that point, we had said, well, let's go further and see what they would extend to us further to take care of the problem on North Territorial. They came back to us, and the report is, now I'll try to be brief on these, but from Curtis, it's North Territorial Road, between Curtis Road and a point, they say 4,100 feet going easterly of Curtis Road, which is by the horse farm. I think most of you know where that section is, a real bad section. To do the same infrastructure work that they're talking about doing would run $162,800. That actually just goes past Fox Hills, the country club, up to Curtis Road, that section of road. Then, so that's another project, and then the next project is North Territorial Road again. It's a point at 1,000, they got 174 feet west of Gopperson Road to a point of 1,153 feet east of Gopperson. That is the project there. The cost of that would be $132,000, the township's part. The next project going down North Territorial Road would be from Gopperson Road between M14 and North Territorial, coming down, from the expressway to North Territorial. That paving of road would be $205,500.
Where, Gary?
Again, it's Gopperson Road from M14, where you exit going north to North Territorial. And that project cost would be $205,500. And then the last project is what we talked about was 7 Mile Road, that continue from Chubb Road going west to Curry Road. The cost of the infrastructure of doing that road would be $163,300. So the conversation we've had with the Road Commission today is that these projects, if the township would go in to partner with them on these, our question is if they spread these over a 3-year period, would the township be interested in going along and getting these projects done? In other words, getting this done this summer. And if you can picture it, all the bad parts of North Territorial Road being taken care of this summer, and also M14 coming to Territorial will take care of a good portion of the problems that we have in the township with this road. And it would be spread over a 3-year period. couple of the things in talking with them, of course, we want to have all this in writing. A couple of things from the last meeting I had to understand is that they thought, well, if you pay the first payment in 2013, which on that one piece we agreed to 115,000, we would, if the state decided to give us, to have the funds for the whole state of Michigan, that we would receive the money back. So, but that would start in 2014. We wouldn't get whatever we paid in 2013. So, my question to them today was, well, these roads have been slated to the state to provide funds, and if they do provide the funds, why wouldn't we get whatever we paid in 2013? So they've come back and they've said that we will reimburse the township if the state approves the funding for these roads from 2000, for the next 3 years. So it'll be including this year also. And in our meeting with our treasurer and trustee Trent, they indicated us when we left that, and I meant to put this back on the table, maybe we can run this back there, of the diagram of the roads that are in yellow that need the infrastructure work. And these are roads that have been, by the county, submitted to the state, and if the state gets this money, then they're going to do these projects. But they're not going to really even talk about it until 2014. So the 7 Mile Road project would not be included in this reimbursement because it's not, I don't know how they determine what 7 Mile Road is, but they don't classify it as the same kind of roads like Pontiac Trail and North Territorial. So that wouldn't be in the, they will still give us the 3-year, time pay on all these projects. There's a total of 5 projects. But the only projects that would be reimbursed to us if the state funding comes through, which we, pay for it all, would be all the roads that we've mentioned except the 7 Mile from Chubb to Curry Road. Any questions on that? Because I know sometimes I don't make myself clear. So
The one question I have is, do you have a clear understanding of what it means to do the infrastructure? I mean, what is the specs going to be? Is it?
The specs are all, all laid out as far as they are going to crush the asphalt that is on the road as a base and use it as a base. They are going through all the culverts, all the infrastructure underneath the road. They're going to widen the road a little bit so that, biking, which is, an issue. So it's going to be a whole infrastructure of all these roads that we're talking about.
And will they mound the road and ditch it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a full reconstruction of the roads. And that's kind of one of the reasons why there's no funding for that through the, all the townships in Washtenaw County or in the state. There's no funding whatsoever for these kind of roads, and they won't, like we see the resealing of them or the crush, whatever they do, the sealing of them, they won't do anything to them because it has to have the infrastructure work and they won't touch them. There's no funding for it.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
In the past, when there has been development, like we're talking about the urban service district, which a lot of that is located on Goffredson Road. If we do any infrastructure changes now, and the state in the past and the road, MDOT, I think, wanted to widen that road, would two things, would the developers reimburse if the state doesn't reimburse the township for doing this update of Goffredson Road, because that would enhance their property? And number 2, what happens if they want to make it a 4-lane and we just spent this money enhancing the property or enhancing the road right now? I mean, is that a consideration before we spend the money in that?
Well, I don't think the developer has it, would have anything to do with this. This is just, these are roads that people are traveling every day that are coming in and out of our township now that need to be fixed. I mean, yeah, right. And so, you know, nothing has been proposed of anything in the USD of building anything so there's nothing on the plan, you know, so I just, to me, it seems to me like a great deal that the county is offering us. And I think, you know, and again, for those of you who don't know, Salem Township, as of this year and several years, I believe, has budgeted $300,000 a year to go for road projects as we, you know, see fit and partner along with the county. So, you know, in 3 years, it's pretty easy. It's, you know, $900,000 in the 3 years. So we're just, basically, I think we're just spreading it out. And we might get, you know, I think there's a good possibility because it's just not Salem Township where the roads are a disaster in some areas. It's everywhere. And I really think they're going to do something to pass to get, you know, these projects funded by the state. And if it does, we'll get all of our money back. Yes. Jim?
Quick question. Who has jurisdiction over 8 Mile up near Griswold, the area that's all kind of pot?
I believe it's half and half. A lot of times we will share, but Oakland County, of course, is on one side, and then Washtenaw is on the other. You're talking on what side of the road?
Mainly, yeah.
Oakland County? Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Connie?
Are you talking about your infrastructure and everything, is the county and the state does not want us to put down a new top on the rotten foundations that we have for roads? You want them to build it all up and make it a good foundation, then put the road down?
Right. Board members, any questions?
Mr. Supervisor, if I could make a comment, I just want to indicate my wholehearted support for the projects that the Road Commission has brought forward for us to consider. I think this is one of those opportunities of a lifetime that we can take advantage of. Last year, we seriously proposed that we be the bank and that we would give the Road Commission the monies to take care of North Territorial. Last year, they respectfully declined our offer and said they couldn't do that. This year, they have surprisingly offered to be the bank. And I think if they're willing to be the bank, then we should take advantage of it. And if we could spread out these payments over 3 years, that would total just under $844,000. We should take advantage of that and approve not only the projects on North Territorial Road, the Gofferson Road project, the 7 Mile project, but also a couple of other projects that were identified in their proposal last month. And so I just want to indicate that I intend to encourage the board to do likewise, and let's move forward with this, take advantage of it, and take that calculated risk that we'll get our monies reimbursed, which will then give us the flexibility to get more roads taken care of in Salem Township over the next couple of years.
And I'd like to thank a lot of residents have, you know, emailed the county and we've talked, we've gone down there, and you know, I think they hear us loud and clear, and we need to do something and partner together and figure this out. So, there.
For dust control, does that come out of the 300,000?
That's budgeted already? Yes.
Okay, so that's.
And we've already approved that, it was 18,000, I believe.
What's that, three?
3 applications.
It's not with a fourth if needed, if we have a long summer.
No, I believe it's just for 3.
Okay. Gotta be quiet.
All right, well, we can move on, unless we, I guess the other thing that would have to happen is if we do this, we would have to amend the budget. Like I said, it's it's 300,000 that we have in our budget now, but to meet, I don't have the exact figures, is it? I did the calculation on it.
Mr. Supervisor, with your permission, I am prepared to make a motion to approve various road projects with the total that will be indicated in my motion.
All right. Well, let's hear your motion.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I move that Salem Township approve the following road projects as identified by the Washtenaw County Road Commission: the North Territorial Road between Curtis and a point 4,100 feet easterly at a cost of $162,800. The North Territorial Road project from a point 1,174 feet west of Godfredson to a point 1,153 feet east of Godfredson at a cost of $132,000. Godfredson Road between M14 and North Territorial Road at an estimated cost of $205,500. And also 7 Mile Road between Chubb Road and Curry Road at a cost of $163,300, with the understanding that we have the opportunity to spread those particular payments out over 3 years, beginning with $350,000 in year 2013. Also, Mr. Supervisor, I move that we adopt the following road projects as identified in the 2013 local road projects that were submitted last month to the board for consideration. I propose that we do the crack sealing for the following subdivisions: Beacon Lane and Pepperwheel Way in the Beacon Lane subdivision. That we do Homestead Lane and Dobbin Lane in the Homestead Park subdivision. And also that we do crack sealing at a cost to be determined, but we believe will be approximately around $10,000 for the Salem Farms subdivision. And also that we take advantage of the drainage match program for 2013, and that we approve $10,493 to be used for that project that will be matched by the county. According to my calculations, Mr. Supervisor, that total would be $407,000.
Now, the crack ceiling or whatever in the subdivisions are around $9,000, isn't that what we
That is
figured?
correct, yep. Yeah, $9,000 for each of those subdivisions. They had proposed, I'm sorry, Mr. Supervisor, I just realized we don't have a second at this point yet, but just for clarification, yes, Salem Farms did have additional work identified, but upon further review of the streets in that subdivision, I think crack sealing is a minimum requirement that we proceed with, along with the ditching. And that $407,000, Mr. Clerk, does include the monies that were authorized last month for the dust control.
Do we have a second on this?
I'll second it.
Any other discussion on this?
Has there been any, I know they said this summer, but have they given any actual commencement date?
No, they just, basically what I'm told is that they do go out for bid and on a lot of these projects, and they'll be gathering all that information, and they said during the summer, this would be one of their main projects. And again, what we'd have to do is make sure that, they're saying that there's going to be plenty advance notice of people that detouring the roads, closing the roads. We also want to be checking with our businesses along North Territorial that they're not affected as much, and figure out how to get traffic to their businesses. Because they will have to be closed. The road, they're saying that these projects will take about a week at each, not the whole stretch, but each section about a week's, depending on weather and stuff. So we want to make sure that, and they want to make sure that it works right for our residents and businesses along them stretches.
I'd also like to ask the question about, I know these are all estimates, but from a procedural standpoint, how do we commence if there are significant cost overruns?
Well, they have to put it in writing to the township, and, so at that point, we would have to look at all the estimates and everything that they have come, which will be presented before us as a board, and we'd have to sign it, and so that's what.
Yeah, but I guess I'm more of a question is from a timing standpoint, because it would be next month then, or would we be expecting that to have these final numbers?
Right. They would, they're waiting to hear from us, of course, and then once we move forward with this, they will get the bid process going and then and have it before us. But it would definitely be a summer project.
Gary, I just added all this up, just, think from what I've heard, it's like over $663,600, not including the crack ceiling and all that, because I didn't really follow that, but I had 162,800, 132,000, 205,500, and 163,300 is 663,600.
And how about the one from last?
And the one from last month, I don't have that in there. I just did what Mr. Trent was.
That was 300.
That was
343,000.
343,000.
Right.
Over $1 million.
So that's like, that alone without the crack ceiling is 900, that's over $1 million.
You divide it by 3 years.
Well,
Right.
but I thought we were talking about total. Oh, you're
Right.
talking about 407 was just a,
Would be,
I thought that
basically,
was a total.
yeah, Mr. Supervisor, just for clarification, Clerk Wensley just mentioned to me that perhaps in my motion I overlooked the original project that was proposed last month, which was the North Territorial Road between Pontiac Trail and 830 feet east of Tower, which is 343,600.
Right.
That should be included in the motion as well.
I believe it's $1,007,000.
Yeah, so, but basically
With all 5 projects.
what we're doing is authorizing the expenditure of over $1 million in road projects, the $1.7 million that are identified in these major asphalt repavings. And then also in addition to that would be the crack ceiling
Right.
of $28,000, and also the ditching project, which would be $11,000 from us, and plus the county will match that. So in reality, we're approving over $1 million in road projects. Subsequently, later in the meeting, we will be amending our budget to reflect the number that I shared a little bit ago of $407,000 as a total.
What's that divided?
Right, but, and again, remember, this is billed out over 3 years, which we mainly usually budget 300,000. So we're talking about amending the budget about 100-some thousand.
Yeah, I'm going to recommend we go to 425 to allow some flexibility for any gravel that may have to be acquired during the summer.
So the figures I got with all that was 1,046,200 total. And so if you divide that by 3 years, it's 348,733.
Okay, well, all right, the projects, there's 5 projects. Not the regular crack ceiling and that stuff that they had proposed before, but all the 5 projects
Okay.
that they are, them certain 5 projects we have talked about is the deal they're giving us to spread it over a 3-year
Okay.
period.
So-
Which should
except
be
for the
about
s-
one,
Yeah, the 7 mile didn't go into the 3 years, so you have to
no,
dig
well,
that up.
no, it does go
Go
into
in?
3 years, but it doesn't
Oh, we
it's
won't get
reimbursed.
reimbursed.
Right,
Okay, cool. Okay, so that number is 1,007,200.
correct.
Cool, we got it.
All right? That's smart.
Quick question, with these major projects you have going on, do you have anyone in the township that's overseeing this? The reason that I ask that is I look at Northville put some money on their side of North Territorial, and I go down there 3 times a week, and it's terrible. So, I mean, do we have anyone that's gonna be kind of watching to make sure that they do it properly?
Well, I'm not a road expert. I mean, I'd be glad to stand out there, but I know if I did my driveway, I'd like to make sure they're putting, whatever they say. You know, always hear about the asphalt people. But, the county bids this stuff out to people. And I can remember when they were doing North Territorial, the county has their crews out there watching to make sure that they're getting what they're paying for.
Well, there's an
Well, if you drove
inspector.
there, have you drove North Territorial
yeah,
to 23?
yeah.
Okay. Don't need to say anymore.
Oh, no, but the problem is they don't know what they're gonna do with that road, and of course, we can't do it.
They have inspectors that come out and core through,
Yeah.
and then they have to follow the specs that are done by the Washington County Road Commission
Right,
and the state of Michigan, so it should be on the up and up, on the up and up.
right.
We could put in a paragraph in there to say the road should last a certain amount of time. And if it does, they'll have to resurface it. That way there's ownership on their part to do a good job.
Well, you can ask them.
When they poured a 7 Mile Angle Road a couple of years ago, then they followed up a stretch of North Territorial. They're like night and day. The 7 Mile Angle Road is nice and smooth, North Territorial's. When Mark brought up supervising or overseeing whatever, that's what made me remind me of that. There is a definite difference.
Right, and it's funny, you go around the township, you see, like, if you go south on Govertson Road over the expressway, you see that stretch of road, they haven't done anything to that thing, and it's still good. And a lot has to do with the infrastructure underneath, or with the soil, or whatever. I mean,
Traffic.
Well, they go that way.
It's all
northbound.
It's all based on the base.
yeah. All right, any other discussion? All right, we have a second. We can do a roll call on this.
All right. Okay, we'll do a roll call. Converse?
Yes.
Daniel?
Yes.
McLaughlin is absent. Schmidt?
Yes.
Trent?
Yes.
Wensley, yes. Whitaker?
Yes. Okay, we can start saving on our tires, maybe. Okay, down to hire temporary employees. I move that, make a motion to authorize the executive officers of the Board of Trustees to interview and hire individuals for a position of a temporary employee.
Support.
David Trent, seconds. Any comments about this?
What's the position?
Be more specific.
Well, we have, part-time employees in the township, and we're going to have one, Carol's going to maybe be taking some time off. And during that time, we need somebody to come in and fill whatever, what her duties are. And back in 2005, we found that this was a temporary employment position that was approved. So we just, with her maybe taking some time off, we're going to need some help, and we're going to have to bring somebody in. So that's what this is about. So all those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion's passed. Okay, we're down to the fire dispatching service agreement. Okay, Jim, you want to make a comment about this?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Good evening. HVA on an annual basis charges us a fee for dispatching fire departments, and that fee is based upon the number of calls that they receive, the number of departments that they dispatch for, the staff, and then they divide it up per department. We get this, I think the last contract was like 2 years ago, and so this is a renewal of that contract with an update. They've also changed their names to, I think it's Emergent Healthcare, since they're diversifying by other parts of emergency response. And this is a contract that comes up for periodic review for the board for approval, for them to do the dispatching for our folks, our department, like they do for most of Washtenaw County. I believe it's a slight increase, but not much. Is there any questions that anybody may have about that? It's their standard contract language that they submit to the other townships as well.
Are there other companies that provide the same service?
Not in our county. You have a choice. Either you do it yourself, hire the staff, when that would be like, actually, I think Chelsea and Pittsfield are one of the last few departments to do it, or you use HVA. And we've used HVA since our inception and continue to support them. They provide probably one of the best bang for the buck for all the work that they do.
So this is just an agreement that is every year we do this?
Every couple of years.
Every couple of years.
And they're looking at extending that period because of the fact that it's hard to get all the boards to approve it and the paperwork that goes behind it, both on their side and our sides. At the last Chiefs meeting, they talked about maybe making it a 3 or a 4-year contract. This is a 2, in line with what they've done in the past.
Yeah, this is good through June 30th, 2015.
All right. Any other questions?
Mr. Supervisor, I'll move that we approve the fire dispatching service agreement between Emergent Health Partners and Salem Township at a cost for 2013-14 of $5,202.48 for the contract. And authorize the supervisor to sign.
We have a second?
I'll second that.
Mr. Daniel seconds it. Any further discussion?
Can I add that's per year? That's an annual cost. So it's paid in monthly fees.
All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's passed. Okay, we're going down to 6B under financials, under the skid unit bid review. And we'll have Mr. Rockwell handle this.
So, thank you, Mr. Supervisor. We solicited for bids for what we call an ultra-high pressure skid-mounted firefighting type apparatus. The purpose behind this ultra-high pressure, it uses water much more effectively. It's reported up to 4 to 5 times more effective than just a normal pump. We want to put this in our Rush 9.4, and because of the fact it's a 3/4 ton and the fact that we don't have a good water supply anywhere within the township, i.e. hydrants, we go off-road to fight brush fires. Every bit of water and every drop is precious when you're trying to get out and you're in a farmer's field a couple acres from the nearest road. We received 2 bids back, sealed bids, which were opened. One was from HMA Fire out of Wisconsin. Another one was from Max Fire. Taking the bid proposal, there was a specification prerequisite bidding requirement. And what I did, and the township board members all have this, is I went through and compared their proposal to to our bid specs. And if they had the requirement as listed, it was Xed in the yes box and annotated on what page it had. If they did not have the requirement, it was annotated on the no side, and of course I couldn't reference it because it was not in the bid proposal. Out of the two proposals, the HMA was about $24,500, and the Max Fire was $30,000, $30,700 approximately. Based upon the review of what I just said, the HMA met all the conditions, and the Max Fire proposal had 5 yes and 8 no, not meeting the requirements of what we're looking for. So the Max Fire was more expensive and didn't meet all the requirements that we were looking for. The HMA bid met all the requirements, and it was approximately $5,000 to $6,000 cheaper. Therefore, based upon the impartial review of it, I'd recommend the HMA proposal because it meets all the specifications, pre-specifications. And as a side note, the HMA rig is built at the factory and tested as a unit. The Max Fire is built piecemeal, and kind of if you want this size tank, we put it on this frame. If you want this size engine, and not tested as a unit. So the HMA, in my opinion, is the better of the two, and it's less costly than the Max Fire.
Okay. This question I have is, can you explain to people what we're using now and what have we used in the past? And will this be a unit that we can, move, let's say we have to get a new vehicle, I mean, can it be easily?
Right, so that's very good questions, and the reason why we are looking at this product. So currently we have basically a steel tank or steel type, I think it's 150 gallons or 100 gallons, and it sits in the back of our pickup truck, our Brush 9.4, and it basically uses a regular pump with pretty much like a pesticide or a farmer type sprayer, and it pumps water out. This new unit is state of the art. They tested it, came out of basically Air Force's design, meeting a lot of military specs for working out in the desert or under harsh conditions. And the concept is used ultra high pressure. It breaks or atomizes the water, which makes it about 4 to 5 times more effective as a firefighting than a straight pumping water. So therefore, the 100 gallons that we're proposing would be similar to a 400-gallon tank if we were to try to roll it in an equivalent kind of simple, like farmer application type tank. The other aspect that this provides with the flip of a switch, it allows us to apply foam to a fire. So when if we have a tough fire, which we just had, we would be able to fairly quickly, which is just basically flipping a switch, we go to a foam application. This is skid mounted, so the thought is during our peak periods, which would be spring through the summer and fall, when we get these brush fires and things like that, we would have this unit available in the back of the truck. In the wintertime, where you run the risk of freezing and stuff, we would take it off the pickup truck. It would be stored, we have the capability stored inside of the garage, and then it would be protected from the elements and therefore last a lot longer than it would be if we were just leaving it in the back of the truck. This is replacing probably a 20-year-old existing system that's out there that's leaking at this time. I feel that it's beyond economical repair, this unit, and this brings us up to the modern technology. This is kind of our test into this. If this works as advertised, we may want to consider this on other trucks that we have within the department, but I think we need to try it and play with it virtually and see how it works for us, see if it lives up to its expectations before we spend more on it in a second unit. We may go back to a simple tank with a pump on another application that we need for one of our trucks. But this is a good way to try it. And the beauty of this is, as the truck ages and we need to replace it, we would pull this skid mounted unit out and put it in the new truck so we could have many, many years of service that would not be tied into an apparatus that when the apparatus, you know, went away because of age, we could put it into a new one and continue to use it.
Any other discussion?
Is there sufficient documentation on durability, its reliance over time?
It's been in service and they had a number of these units. We're not certainly on the front end of this technology. If you look in the packet that was provided to you, it's been tested against a number of military specifications, from everything from cold to hot to sand to dust to dirt, rain-blown wind. It passes all those. Those were all put in as part of this unit. If you look at the Max Fire application, we don't see any of those certifications or any of those tests being run against it. So we have seen this unit physically here from another department. We played with it a little bit. It's made for firefighting as opposed to something that's kind of ad hoc, put together, and you know, not designed originally for firefighting, where this unit is.
I guess put my question in a different way. Is there a life cycle?
I don't have that in front of me. I don't have that information in front of me. It's got a Honda engine in it. It's really dependable. We are paying more for we're asking for stainless steel fittings. We're asking for stuff that's durable, long-lasting. If you look at the other one, it goes to stainless steel, it goes to bronze, it goes to lower material that doesn't tend to hold up. This is all stainless steel, this is all brass, this is all high-end stuff. So you pay for what you get.
Jim, I noticed that on your sheet you had a question mark
Yes.
by 1 year limited warranty.
Right.
Do we know anything more on that?
Yep, so I contacted the vendor and said, you know, we didn't have any warranty information. So I called him yesterday, which he emailed me immediately that it was an oversight on the application. So I have attached it to your review. I didn't have it originally when I went through the review, and that prompted me to call him to ask for it. So now you do have a copy that he does provide a 1 year warranty.
Is there any chance you know, you can always buy an extended warranty on stuff. Can we do something like that?
We have never asked for that. We could explore that. That wasn't part of the bid specification.
Some of the items do carry a limited 3-year warranty, such as the water foam pump and the Honda engine.
As well as the tank's lifetime.
Yeah, and there's a 5-year body warranty, as well as the fire paint warranty for 5 years as well. So I don't know that we're going to get an extension on something of that nature.
The challenge we have is you've got, you know, you got 100 gallons of water, 8 pounds per gallon. That's 8,000 pounds right there. 800 pounds, sorry, 800 pounds. And you put it back in a truck and you go off-roading with it. It's not the ideal conditions that you want to subject, you know, pretty heavy equipment to. But again, this is built with that in mind, and that's why I like this over the application of just going out and buying a tank and getting a simple pump, because it's built to take punishment that we could subject it to when we go off-road.
Hey Jim, one quick question. It probably assumes that the water that's going into this tank is probably city water, but we get a lot of our water from the lakes and stuff. Would that stones or anything that would get caught up into that?
There is a strainer in there, and we would probably want to use well water, which is what we use Mr. Focus's area. We've kind of learned our lessons, and we try not to draft as much because of the stones that we picked up with the impellers that's cost us on the big tankers. But in an emergency, you kind of go with what you have. Again, this is more the reason why we want to. This is going to have a lot more strainers and stuff because you cannot suck a rock into there because you're ultra high pressure in here. It's going to really cause some damage.
Can I ask a question? Given that it's newer and better and fancier and performs more, it seems to me there might be maintenance issues associated with it? Or a need for training?
There is training with this, and the nice thing about this thing is the layout is simple because it's made as a unit to do this. The other one's more ad hoc. The labeling on it, the lighting of it, it's immensely easier to use than what we have right now. It's flip a switch, turn a lever, and it runs, and pull the reel out. If we need foam, we turn another lever to give foam, and the other thing we do is we turn a lever to how much foam we want. Do we want 1%, 6%, 5%, anywhere between it. So there is in here, in the proposal, is training and manuals. But it's simple enough that probably in 5 minutes I could show you how to run it.
Great, sounds like fun.
Mr. Supervisor, I'll be proposing a motion in just a moment in support of the purchase of this HMA fire unit, but just as a comment to the board, last month, Chief Rockwell and I had the opportunity to attend a seminar that was put on by 2 firefighters from the city of Grand Rapids. They have deployed in their department over the last 3 years what they call, I don't know if I'm using the right term, flex units, or tankers that are smaller in size, that have smaller tanks, but utilize this technology. And they just raved about the impact that it has had on fighting fires, that they've realigned their resources accordingly, doing the analysis of how many calls are medical, how many are fire, where are the fires located in a big city like Grand Rapids that has a population of just under 200,000. And they now strategically deploy these smaller tankers that have this technology as part of the equipment to specific fires. And they said these units get there faster because they're smaller, they're less costly to maintain. And he said usually what happens is that these units are so effective in fighting the fire that by the time the big boys get there, they've already knocked out the fire, and the big boys are just in there doing mop-up work. That these things, with this type of technology and utilizing the spray in conjunction with the foam, has really been effective. And so I think it's incumbent upon us, especially in a rural community such as ours, that we give our firefighters the best tools and ammunition to do the job that they volunteer to do, and that's to protect property and save lives. And if this is one of those pieces in the arsenal that we can provide, then I think it's a good tool for us to have on board.
And you would take these on most fires?
This is set up for the brush truck, and primarily our brush truck is that for brush fires off-road. We certainly cannot take that tanker off-road and take it out into a field because it would be buried up to the axles,
right,
3 feet off the road. So,
but do you use it at a house fire too?
As Mr. Trent alluded to, we listened to the Grand Rapids with their challenges, their budget cuts, and they couldn't afford the larger vehicles, and so they were challenged by their board to say, how do you do this more effectively, more efficiently, with less money? So they came up with this hybrid vehicle, and lo and behold, if you go back to that adage, a fire doubles every 60 seconds. If you can get a vehicle there quick, and you can do a quick attack, and attack that fire and get it at its roots, you can then bring the trucks, the larger trucks, when you have the larger fires, but this can keep the fire at bay, and if not, extinguish it. And so we want to try this technology on a smaller scale before we upscale it or consider going into other vehicles. And this is kind of an inexpensive way of trying this stuff without buying a $400,000 vehicle.
All right.
Chief Rockwell, the thought comes to my mind, if you get into a real heavy situation, and 100 gallons seems to be able to, it's like in 10 minutes it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a potential where you could tie into or piggyback to one of the big trucks to pump
Yes.
into it to continue to use it?
This has the capability to do a direct feed. So if you use our current system, which I believe is a 20 to 25 gallon per minute, I got 75 gallons, I got 3 minutes of water. This thing's gonna give me, like you said, 10 minutes of water. So again, another benefit of using the ultra-high pressure. This does have a direct connect where we can go right to our tanker or our engine, which has a larger water supply. And we often do these relays when we're close enough to the road, we'll run the tanker relay out to a truck like this. And that's why our 9.7 is such a great truck, that because it has a mini pump on there, it can extend it when we're half a mile back into the woods and you need a light vehicle, but you need water back there, which we had a couple months ago when we had those peat moths on fire. We needed a lot of water, but we were not near the road where we could get anything back there. Use these trucks in the middle to boost that water to get back there.
Bonnie?
Okay, the question I have is, you say this is new. How new is this?
This is
Have
probably,
it in service?
yeah, I don't have the exact date. I want to say 5-10 years for new technology. It's not like it was last year, but it's certainly within 10 years, and that's new to the fire service.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other discussion?
Mr. Supervisor, if I may, I'd like to move that Salem Township approve the bid from HMA Fire in the amount of $24,544 for the ultra-high pressure skid unit described in the fire department's bid proposal.
Get a second?
I'll second.
Mary Beth, seconds. Any other questions?
This requires a roll call vote.
All right. Roll call for Converse.
Yes.
Daniel.
Yep.
Rothman is absent. Schmidt.
Yes.
Trent.
Yes.
Wensley, yes. Whitaker.
Yes. Okay, motion is passed. We're down to the budget amendment.
Mr. Supervisor, based on our discussion earlier this evening, I move that Salem Township approve the following cost center budget amendment for fiscal year 2013-14. Under cost center 446, highways and streets, the current budget is $303,000. I recommend that we revise that to $425,000 for this fiscal year, which would then decrease the contingency line item under cost center 956 of the functions from $186,451 to $63,451.
I'll support that.
Okay, Dell Wensley seconds. Any other questions?
A roll call vote. Converse.
Yes.
Daniel.
Yep.
Rothman is absent. Schmidt.
Yes.
Trent.
Yes.
Wensley, yes. Whitaker.
Yes. Motion is passed. Okay, we're down to capital asset policy revision.
I move that Salem Township amend the following section of the Salem Township Capital Asset Policy as attached in your board packet. It is under the second paragraph under the purpose. All individual items with an acquisition cost of $1,000, that's what it currently says right now, will be changed to $5,000 or more, and a useful life of 2 or more years will be capitalized and reported within the township's capital asset program. This amendment will take effect with the 2013-14 fiscal year. And basically, the auditors have been, from what I understand, talking to our deputy clerk for the last several years about raising, going from $1,000 to $5,000. So this is something that our auditors have recommended this past several years, and we're finally getting around to doing that now. So I would ask for your support on this.
I'll second the motion, Mr. Supervisor.
All right, we have a second. Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Our motion's passed. All right, we got the clerk's report submitted. And we're down to the fire department.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for approving the skid mount unit. I realize I don't think it made it into the board packet, our fire calls for May, so I want to briefly review those. Our fire call requests are up. We've had 44 requests in the month of May. We had 7 motor vehicle accidents, including one with a joint jurisdiction there on Wayne County and Napier in North Territorial. One vehicle on their side, one vehicle on our side, so we shared. We had one accident with a pin-in, which means it's a trapped occupant, which typically we'll have to cut out with the jaws. We had a couple commercial fire alarms. We had 3 brush fires that we spoke about. We're starting to get into the wetter season, so that's kind of helping a bit. We had 25 medical calls, requests for medical assistance. 1 major structure fire that I'd like to talk about. 2 structure fire assists, which are basically other departments where we do coverage for their stations. We had 1 unknown, and I don't recall what that is, so it's remained unknown. I can look it up. And we've had some storms that moved through, which caused some arcing wires or wires down, particularly on 5 Mile. So a few of the residents probably suffered some power outages this last month. So also in the report, our response times are still what I consider really good. We're under 7 minutes, and that is attributed directly to the small trucks being deployed. And on almost all occasions, those small trucks are the first arriving vehicles, and they make a difference. They make a difference first on the scene. Today we had our first arriving vehicle on a major medical was the small vehicles. I said I was going to talk a little bit about structure fire. We had a major structure fire within the township. It occurred during a storm. It was very hot, it was very muggy, and it was a very tough fire. It was up in the roof line. It was an older house, and older houses are built better. So if it was lightweight construction, quite frankly, that house would not be here today. So I want to say thank you to the fire department, our fire department, with the factors Superior and Lyon Township did a tremendous job of saving that house. That being said, there was extensive damage because they had 2 ceilings. They had an old plaster ceiling, and above the old plaster ceiling, they had a tongue and groove wood flooring ceiling. And the fire was between that wood tug flooring and the heavy timbers in the ceiling, and it was an open gable roof, and it was running through the roof line. We had 2 people injured. We had 1 firefighter that was transported to the hospital, and we had 1, the occupant, the owner of the house, was also transported. I will say, people love their animals, and he didn't want to leave that house, and that house was completely filled with smoke. And we did get, it was reported in the newspaper, the dog is safe and sound. It did get out, but he was definitely, would have been devastated if that dog had not. And we will put on air packs and go get your dogs if it's safe to do. So please do not re-enter your house, because rescuing a dog versus rescuing a person is a different story. That being said, the firefighter was overcome by heat stroke and dehydration. So it was so hot, and if you think about it, it was a hot day to begin with, and you're sticking your head into an oven, i.e. the roof, that's on fire, cutting holes and trying to get access to it is very difficult. We also had some difficulty putting the fire out because of heavy timbers. If you think about it, when you have logs on a fireplace and you throw some water on it, you tend to put the outside of the fire out, but if you roll that log over, it's still burning on the bottom side. Well, when you're spraying water up into a ceiling, that water doesn't stay there. So we had to come back there twice to try to get that fire out. And then we just talked about the application of foam. Foam amends water, which makes it smaller in surface tension, and it's sticky, it stays. So that we ended up foaming that house to get that fire out, which was a third call back to that house to get those heavy timbers out. A large, very, very large house. Okay, so that's, any questions on that structure fire? But I want to thank, we had Northfield covering our station, we had Superior on the fire, we had Lyon Township on the fire, we had Ann Arbor Township on assistance, as well as Washington County Sheriff. And the Red Cross came out as well. So we had a lot of interagency helping on this. It was a big fire, and we saved the house, which is a great save, and a lot of that has to do with our department.
Appreciate that, Jim.
So, thank our guys, they did a great job, it's a hot day. Last thing I want to say is, a lot of our firefighters did a lot of extra work for Flag Day. A lot of, they did get paid for some of it, but a lot of it was donated time where they come in, got those trucks ready, got the station ready, did things like that, and the run went well. And as well as the Flag Day, it was great to work with the volunteers. Traffic control worked a lot better this year. We had some minor injuries, nothing that was transportable. We got some great support with HEA bringing out their Forerunner and having an ambulance there, having the Sheriff's Department and Interop and having the state police. It was a tremendous support from our other departments or other agencies. So I wanted to thank them. They did help us out a lot, and it showed. We didn't have any big issues. Is there any questions anybody has about the fire department?
All right, thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
All right, moving on the RFP update. As we had discussed previously about going out for bid for the assessing department, and I believe we will be advertising that.
Yeah, Mr. Supervisor, ads will be placed in the paper by Clerk Wensley next week in both the South Lyon Herald and AnnArbor.com. We also will be posting this opportunity with the MTA under their classified ad section, and also with the Michigan Assessor magazine.
And just to elaborate a little bit about the assessing, I know that and I know this has come up, but I just think we need to talk about it, is they had proposed before about doing a total canvass of the township in excess of some $90,000, and they did about half of the township. When I became supervisor, I looked at some of the stuff that was being done. There's been a lot of questions. I had my first board of review. There's just a lot of questions and a lot of things that I feel people are asking questions and they are not getting answered. So, maybe it's just a communication, but I feel that the rest of the canvassing, that was another excess of $40,000. I had requested to put this on hold until we can be assured that we can give the residents the answers that need to be given to when they have questions about assessing their properties. This has to be done right. It has to be certified by our county. I've also talked to our county, who we are responsible to, and of course they're responsible to the state, and they had also advised me the same thing, that this is what needs to be done. So that's why we are going out for bid. I just wanted to clarify that moving forward. All right, down to the audit update. I don't know if we have much of an update on it. I know
I can speak just. The auditors were here last week. They were here Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and they wrapped up by Wednesday afternoon, and they got got everything they needed. There was really no questions, no problems. So that's always a good sign for while they're here. And they said they'd be taking a few weeks to get it all compiled, and they would be in contact with us. So we're on schedule. We're not behind at all, and we don't see any concerns at this point. So that's good news.
Any other?
Mr. Supervisor, if I can just add my 2 cents as the past clerk, when your auditors can come in and do an expeditious job, when they schedule 5 days to be with you and they wrap up in 3, that is a testament to the hard work and planning that went into getting ready for this process by our deputy clerk and deputy treasurer. And just as a side note, our accounting consultant has shared with me that in her opinion, we have probably the best 1-2 combo in the county and with the clients that she interfaces with. And that just speaks volumes of the capability of our staff, and especially with a new deputy treasurer coming on board and a deputy clerk that's only been with us here for her 2nd audit, that they have synergized their efforts and have been able to accomplish what they did here with the auditors. And it just, and I'm sure we'll see that in the final report. Obviously, the audit's just a snapshot of the financial resources that the township has, but the fact that everything was reconciled and there was no questions or issues found during the 3 days that they were here just speaks very well of the capabilities of Ms. Taggart and Ms. Raditz, and we're fortunate to have ladies like that really rise to the occasion and do such a great job.
We actually
agree.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. Now, we do have a great staff here during the day. If you're not doing anything, stop at any time. It's for being here and interacting day to day, there's a good atmosphere, and we appreciate them very much. Okay, so we're down to public comment. Graham, I think you got your hand up first.
I gotta tell you who I am, where I live, right?
I know where you live.
Yeah, I know. Well, my name's Graham Board. I live over on Tower Road, last 22 years, right behind Mark and Linda and the dairy farm. They're the reason, the farm is the real reason why I moved to the township, like wide open spaces and have my horses and stuff too. One little point I'd like to bring up here has been eating at me for a long time. And this is for Mr. Muirhead over here.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Years ago, he was sick in the hospital. Hamilton baled his hay for him. I've been watching with his knife in Mark's back and Linda's for a long, long time. That's that one. The other thing that's been bugging me for a long time, and I deliberately stayed out of this building with our previous board because of their general attitude. And they did everything they possibly could do to get Mark to quit being chief. But he did until they finally know what they did. They finally just threw him out. And this is eating at me. I don't usually get Tuesday night to come in, but my hockey was off tonight, so here I am. And my question is, they stuck a knife in Mark's back, the last board did. They couldn't get rid of him any other way, so they finally threw him out. I want to know when you guys are going to make him right, that's all. I read him, I'm embarrassed and ashamed to say that I live in Salem Township. People ask me where I live, I just say Washtenaw County, I leave it at that. That's it.
When did they bail my hay?
Excuse me?
When did they bail my hay for me?
You were in the hospital.
No, I wasn't.
No?
No, I paid Mark Hamilton for bailing
Yes,
hay.
you did pay
So
him.
get
You
your
were in the
stories
hospital.
right, monsieur.
Okay. Marcia?
You can run at the mouth, but know what you're talking about.
Okay, on this temporary employee position, you mentioned 2005. May I remind the board that I think it was later than that, 2010, 11, a new personnel policy was approved by the previous board, which gave a description on how even temporary employees should be solicited, and I think a committee was to be set up, but I think there were supposed to be ads in the Southland Herald and then applications and go through the whole, like, the bid process. So may I?
This is temporary, Marcia, and it's just, like I say, if Carol is off for some time, we're gonna need some help here, and I have to make sure it's covered. So
I
Okay,
understand
right.
the reason, but it's a temporary employee, so it should be
Right.
covered
So-
under the employee handbook.
Right, well, we'll look into it, but I say 2005 is where we come up with that motion, or we can make a new motion. It's something that needs to be done to make sure that we're covered when people come in and want
Oh, I
services.
agree with you.
Yeah. Okay, anybody else? Okay, if that's it, then we need we're going into closed session at the motion, is that from John? Daniel? Yep. Okay, sir. Is there a, might be in the,
John, you wait. Just wondering.
Okay, I move that the Salem Township Board of Trustees go into closed session to pursue MLC 15.268, consider the purchase of real property, conservation easement rights, members of the Land Preservation and Conservation Board, consultant, Barry, and legal counsel.
okay, we have a second? I'll second. Dale Converse? Roll call?
Yes. Converse?
Yes.
Daniel?
Yep.
McLaughlin is absent. Schmidt?
Yes.
Trent?
Yes.
Wensley, yes. Whitaker?
Yes.
Last words.
Okay, we'll take a 15-minute break. Thanks everyone for coming out tonight. Good to see everybody.